when I was in Dublin, and I had heard about this church, St. Michan's Church, that had a crypt underneath the church with a giant's mummified body. So, of course, I had to go check it out. And there was some to do about how long the fingers were. The first thing I was thinking was pharaonic hands. Now, this church was founded by the Danes in 1095. And the more important people, or the more religious type person, was allowed to be buried under the church. It was for important people. Eventually, that came down to money. If you were rich, you could be buried closer or under the church. There is a cemetery next to the church, and that has burials as well. So I went into the church. It was into the crypt. It was very dark. I also visited the church. But you're not allowed to have any lights or flash on in the crypt. And so my footage is dark. The camera I was using was a new one. I was trying different types of cameras. So don't get upset if the quality of the video isn't that great, but try and listen to the audio. And I'll put a picture of the mummies at the end. Also, I tried to look at the mummy's skull to see if there was any elongation, and there wasn't any. Now, this guy was over 6 feet tall, and he was considered a giant. So that's an incredibly important clue as to who was considered a giant less than 1,000 years ago in Ireland. It's these very tall men, over 6 feet tall. And it's possible, going further and further back, we could have had 8, 9, and plus feet tall men, like Vikings. And very possible that they bred down, or, their genetics passed on someone, but they interbred with a shorter human. But let's take a listen, and, we can learn something. And also, by the way, the giant had, I guess, his feet chopped off so he could fit in the coffin. So they would do certain things to the bodies back then that were significant. They would, might cross the arms or something that was symbolic, or they might have had to remove parts of the body so it would fit, or if the person was a thief, they had a hand removed. So take a listen and enjoy. Thanks.
Everything here relates to a famous revolution in our history in 1798. The mask is of Wolfe Tone. He's a famous name in our history. In Europe, the date is close to the French Revolution. Wolfe Tone and his friends tried to copy the French Revolution here, break the connection with England at the same time. He was kicked out of the country. He ended up in France, so he asked them for help. They did send 2 expeditions, but they weren't successful. In 1798, Ireland decided to go ahead without France, and there was a meeting. But at the meeting, there was a spion. The leaders were arrested. After that, these brothers took over, John and Henry Shears. There was another spion. The brothers were arrested. The document is a copy of their execution order. You can read this. It is quite legible. The important part is right in the middle of the page. This is what it says. Each of them, the 2 brothers, each of them be hanged by the neck, but not until they be dead. For whilst they are yet alive, they are to be taken down. Their entrails are to be taken out of their body, and whilst they are yet alive, they are to be burned in front of their faces. Then their heads were and their bodies into 4 quarters. In public, offentlich. in case any of you are thinking of having your own revolution next week. There's a little irony too. The execution was carried out on the 14th of July, Bastille Day. By Bastille Day, the whole thing's finished, unsuccessfully. 1 month later, the French arrive. Too late. Wolfe Tone comes home. He was arrested and sentenced for the same execution. In prison, he cut his own throat. And that's why we don't speak French. A little bit of history. As I said, the important part is right in the middle of the page. Although this is technically the finale, after this we'll scoot back to part 1 and see the mummies. If you'd like to continue in the church, you're welcome. See you in another 18 months. Any visitors, tell them to come and see me. Have nice parties. Don't let Bayern win the Bundesliga next year. Good luck to the Blues. Thank you. The last one was 9 months ago. This is the only family that continued to be buried here. But any of these families could come today and use them again. Not very likely, but legally it is possible. And that's part of the reason for not poking around too much. Technically, they are all active. Gets a bit better after this.
Okay. I'm going down in here. Oh my goodness. See some mummies in Ireland. Holy moly.
Ears. Some of them have noses, mouths, fingers. This preservation is natural. We don't do anything to make it happen. It just happens. And it seems to happen for 3 reasons. In the crypt, the temperature never changes. Winter and summer. Never gets hot, never gets cold. Secondly, it's very dry. Limestone absorbs humidity. It sucks all the water out of the atmosphere. You can sense that. And the land down underneath releases methane into the atmosphere. You know what methane is? It comes out the back end of a cow. But it's gas, it's not the other stuff. So the 3 things together, the temperature, the dryness, and the cow's fart, to give you a little example, the coffin against the right-hand wall is about 150, maybe 200 years old. So you can see the preservative quality. And the first 3 mummies, 400 years old. Again, the one to the right is female, but she is the most damaged. So she is anonymous. In the middle, male. He has no feet. And also no right hand. It sounds crazy, but I think the feet are simply, he's too tall. The hand is a problem. It seems to be punishment. So that would make him strange to be buried under the church. One possibility is that he reforms, maybe becomes a priest, or it's not punishment. Disease, battle wound, accident. The third one, to the left, is again female. She was said to have been a nun who lived to be over 100 years old. It's worth looking again at her hands and feet. Very delicate fingers, fingernails, and if you pop your head over the gate, you see her toes and toenails virtually intact. And this is compulsory. Everyone has to see the toenails. No hiding at the back. No, okay. Non-criminal anonymous. 400 years old. Las uñas obligatorio. Anything else on the plan today?
Yeah, what else?
Is being buried with your feet crossed to indicate the crucifix. In his case, he's crossed at the thigh bones, the lower legs broken, pushed underneath. Again. Almost 2 meters. 6'6". Today, it's tall. 800 years ago, a giant. But you see evidence, if you look again at his hand, not the first finger, which is broken. Try and get a look at the middle finger. It's incredibly long. Could be there, priest and nuns. The man in the middle is a bit strange, but maybe the reformed criminal is correct. In more recent centuries, money. If the coffin to the right is 150 years old, 400 in the middle, to the left is somewhere between the two. Different style, different shape, different materials. So pick a number between 150 and 400. You'll be close. And at that stage, you are beginning to talk money. We have another crypt to visit. Before we go, we'll have a little look at this room.
Okay, this is like a 900-year-old church and cemetery in Dublin. See if I can find anything readable. Not really. (1827). Look at how they line up those slabs. I wonder if those are graves over there too. This looks like some kind of mausoleum type thing. I don't know what that is. Okay. These are beautiful trees.